Welcome back to the program. But first, some of our stories in brief. We begin in Bayelsa State, where the government says it is ready to collaborate with the organized labor in the state to ensure a smooth sailing of activities in the administration. It's a commitment from the governor, Okoye, who gave to workers' leaders during a meeting with them at the government house, Yenagoa. According to him, the collaboration between both parties would enable his government to address all issues of wages, salary arrears, minimum wage, and others. Elsewhere, the Cross River State Governor, Professor Ben Ayade, has sworn in Justice Maurice Eneji as the new acting Chief Judge of the state. It followed the non-confirmation of Justice Akon Ikpeme as the Chief Judge by the State House of Assembly after the expiration of 3 months' capacity following the retirement of the immediate past Chief Judge. Speaking shortly after the swearing-in at the ESCO Chambers, the Governor's office, Mr. Ayade disclosed that the decision of the non-confirmation, according to the State House of Assembly, is based on justice, fairness and equity. So let's focus our thoughts on the issues and what INEC is up to in Lagos this week. Mr. Festus Okoye is here with me, the National Commissioner in charge of voter education and publicity. We'd like to thank you. Good to see you live here. We've always been talking across for our Abuja studios. We know that it's the Electoral Act Amendment law. Since last year's elections, there have been several matters in court, and INEC has really been involved as well throughout the period. But I'd like to ask, based on what you're here for, which is the amendment law, what are you aiming, what's INEC aiming to correct with this framework for this week?
You know, as the chairman pointed out in his address yesterday, there are certain factors we want to underline the new amendment in the Electoral Act. One is the issue of increasing the confidence of the Nigerian people in the electoral process. Secondly, we want to break the cycle of impunity in our electoral process because violence has dogged our electoral process for quite a while. We want to increase inclusivity in terms of bringing in more women, youths, and other vulnerable members of the society into the electoral process. We want to deepen the use of technology in the electoral process, and also we want a situation where there will be true internal democracy in the operation of political parties. And then we also want to increase the independence and autonomy of the electoral process. So these are the factors we want to underline the new amendments to the electoral legal framework.
But this is pendant on the National Assembly and then the President assenting to it.
Yes.
We know that there was an issue with regards to this amendment in the first place, which kept us where we were, and we used the guidelines and our existing laws. So you might do all of this, and at the end of the day, it will amount to naught, wouldn't it?
Now, you see, we have adopted a new approach, a new framework. What we have done is that immediately after the 2019 elections, we did some internal reviews and also had consultative meeting with stakeholders. We have harvested all those things, and then we are now doing internal reviews with our directors, resident electoral commissioners, and national commissioners. So in terms of our own proposals, we have harvested 14 areas we want the National Assembly to amend. The National Assembly has also forwarded to us their draft bill, which we have also made comments on. So we are going to harmonize all these amendments, and then on Thursday and Friday, we are going to brainstorm with members of the INEC committee, the Senate committee on INEC, and the House committee on electoral matters. We are going to hold a consultative meeting with them so that they will know where we stand on certain issues, and we'll also know where they stand on certain issues, and we harmonize and then make a presentation to them. Thereafter, there will be public hearings, and I believe that we are starting early, and since there will be synergy in terms of all the proposals, I don't see any difficulty in the President ascending to the new bill that will come out from here.
So the INEC chairman also said a number of things, that as part of the reforms, key components of the Electoral Act, that he would like to see effective sanctions on those who violate electoral laws of the country. We do have sanctions, we have a provision, we have some that are functioning, but why isn't it working? Is it a matter of non-implementation or not enough to fight that?
Well, there are issues involved. One, For you to carry out effective sanctions, there has to be an arrest, there has to be investigation, and there has to be prosecution. The issue of arrest and investigation are within the domain of a different agency, while the issue of prosecuting electoral offenders is within the domain of the Independent National Electoral Commission. And we have made it clear that we have issues that we need to focus on, conducting elections, and that we don't have the capacity and we don't have the wherewithal to prosecute electoral offenders. So we want a situation where we have a separate agency that deals with the issue of arrest, issue of investigation, and issue of prosecution of electoral offenders, so that we can, as a nation and as a people, break the cycle of electoral impunity and get our electoral process working. Because the danger we face now is that the Commission is increasingly finding it difficult to get our young men and women doing the National Youth Service to serve as presiding officers and to also serve in other categories of the electoral process. And during the 2019 elections, we deployed over 1 million ad hoc staff. So when we have a situation where we cannot even get up to 500,000 ad hoc staff to serve on account of the level of violence in the electoral process, it diminishes our electoral process and also diminishes our democracy. So we want effective sanction for electoral offenders by getting an agency that can even constitute a mobile court on election day and sanction electoral offenders there and then. That is what we want to see, and that is what we are aiming at.
But that's another thing. You're saying special electoral offences courts with defined time frame for prosecution of offenders,
Yes.
speedy administration of justice, without investigation?
Well, there will be investigation. There are some electoral offenders that you can see at the polling unit committing an offense. Those are strict liability offenses. Those ones can be dealt with by a mobile court, electoral mobile court, on election day. But other ones that have committed other offenses will be investigated by this commission. They will also be prosecuted by this commission, so that we can have a commission that is solely dedicated to the issue of arrest, prosecution, investigation and prosecution of electoral offenders.
All right, we'd like to thank you. Also, perhaps I know a lot of people would want to know, in terms of going electronic, is that also one of the things you're proposing?
We are not ruling out anything. Everything is on the table, okay. And we will implement whatever the National Assembly says we should implement.
We appreciate your time, National Commissioner in charge of voter education and publicity, Mr. Festus Okoye. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.